A very pleasant morning to all my dear children. Welcome back to English online class of Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayur. I hope you all are in the pink of your health and taking care of yourselves. Yes? Okay. As our assessments got over, let's restart our regular online learning sessions. Today we'll discuss Lesson 5 from our Honeydew text. Lesson 5, The Summit Within, written by Major Haripal Singh Ahluwalia. Major H.P.S. Ahluwalia was born on 6 November 1936 in Sialkot, Pakistan. He is a great mountaineer, an author, a social worker, and also a retired army officer. His major contributions are in the fields of adventure, sports, environment, disability, and social work. He is the 6th Indian and the 21st man in the world to climb Mount Everest. He was also a member of the first successful expedition of Indian Army in 1965 to climb the Mount Everest. That particular expedition, that particular journey to Mount Everest could put on 9 mountaineers on top, and that was a record. That record lasted for 17 years. Only after 17 years some group could break that record. So he is a member of such an successful expedition. Presently, he is the chairman of Indian Spinal Injuries Center. He has received several awards like Arjuna Award, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Tenzing Norway National Adventure Awards, etc. He has also written several books like The Everest Within, Beyond the Himalayas, etc. So, I hope you had enough knowledge of our author, Major H.P.S. Ahluwalia. Now, let's discuss our lesson, The Summit Within. What do you mean by summit? Summit means the highest point. The highest point of the hills or mountains. And within means inside. So, let's see what the author H.P.S. Ahluwalia want to discuss in this lesson. What he mean by the highest point inside us. So let's move to our lesson. The lesson, The Summit Within, is a real life account of a great mountaineer, of a great adventurous person, our author Major Haripal Singh Ahluwalia. Major Haripal Singh Ahluwalia, he narrates his experiences and feelings as he stood on the highest peak of the world, the Mount Everest. So in this lesson, he narrates his experiences and feelings as he climbed to the summit of Mount Everest. So let's look at each paragraph. Let's look at the first paragraph. In the first paragraph, he says that when he stood on the highest peak of the world, when he stood on the summit of Mount Everest, several emotions, many emotions surged in him. Surged means rose suddenly in him. And after all those emotions, one particular emotion stood dominant, stood superior, powerful than all other emotions. Which is that emotion? That is humility, that is humbleness or modesty. Modesty means not being proud of one's activities, who are very selfless. I would say Mother Teresa is an embodiment of humility or humbleness, because she's least bothered about herself. Even though she received Nobel Prize for Peace, she is not at all proud of her activities. Till death, she was engaged. She was engaged in helping the poor and needy without bothering about herself. So she is a selfless character. She is not at all proud of her doings. So we should also be humble children. We should also inculcate that humbleness in us. So humbleness or humility is the dominant of all the emotions in him. And he expressed his joy and thankfulness to God as he stood on the summit. He said, "Thank God, it's all over." We all know, even though we haven't climbed Mount Everest, we know it's not an easy task. It's an arduous task, a difficult and tiring task, isn't it? Yes, because we need to overcome many difficulties or obstacles to conquer Mount Everest. We need a lot of physical and mental strength. Not only physical, we also need mental strength to overcome all the difficulties and conquer Mount Everest. It's not an easy task. So He thanked God for making his expedition successful. He says that even though he succeeded, he conquered Mount Everest, he's very jubilant, he's very happy of his success, he's very excited of his success. Still, a tinge of sadness is there in him. A tinge means a trace, a shade of sadness prevails in him. Why he is sad even though he has conquered the highest peak of the world? Because he says that it is the ultimate point, or it is the topmost point. There's no other peak, or there's no other highest point that he could conquer. He has conquered the highest point in the world. And the only way is left now is to come down, to climb down the mountains. The only way, or the only roads that is left is to climb down. So only that tinge of sadness still prevails in him. Otherwise, he feels very jubilant, he feels very thankful to God. In the second paragraph also he says that he expresses his joy, his happiness, and he also expresses thankfulness to God for making his expedition, for making his journey to the summit of Mount Everest successful, along with other mountaineers. And he says that a person is not the same person on the summit of the Mount Everest. Means the character or the emotions that is within us when we start the expedition to Mount Everest is not the same when we reach on the top of the Everest. There is tremendous transformation in a person's character when he reaches on the summit of Mount Everest. He is not at all the same person as he started the journey. There is a total transformation or total change in a man's character. In the third paragraph, our author says that even though climbing on the summit of Mount Everest is a difficult task, the more difficult task is to climb the summit within. Summit within means to conquer our negative thoughts or to conquer our emotions and attain success is more difficult task than climbing on the summit of Mount Everest. To conquer our negative thoughts like fear, anxiety, nervousness, and ultimately gain success is no less formidable task, no less difficult or no less powerful or no less huge task than climbing on the Mount Everest. In the fourth paragraph, as he climbed down the Mount Everest, as his physical exhaustion is over, exhaustion means physical fatigue or physical tiredness is over, now he questions himself. What is that attracted him towards climbing the mountains? Or why that thought entangled him? So he keeps on asking such questions. Then he says that it's already a past activity. He has already conquered the Mount Everest. Still, that thought still linger in him. And he says that as days go by, will that thoughts fade away from his memories? In the next paragraph, he gives answers to all his questions. He says that he is attracted towards climbing the mountain or towards climbing the highest peak. Not only he and all other adventurous people, why they are attracted to climb the Mount Everest, to conquer the Mount Everest, solely because mountains, they present great difficulties, they pose great challenges, and man is a being that is ready to take up such challenges. He shows his willingness or readiness to take up such challenges. The author also says that a person should possess three qualities. Which are the three qualities? The first one is endurance, the second one persistence, and the third one is willpower. Endurance means the ability to bear with the difficulties, to bear with the obstacles, the hurdles that come across to your way of success. So you should have that endurance, you should bear that difficulties for a long time, and you should also have persistence. Persistence means to continue whatever you're doing, to continue your activity for a longer period. Then determination or willpower means determination. The feeling that you possess, the feeling that you will surely do it. You should have that willpower, you should have that determination. Only then you can climb the Mount Everest. You all have seen the film Bahubali, right? In the film Bahubali, The character Bahubali, as a child, he is attracted or fascinated towards that mountains, right? Towards the waterfalls. He always look at the mountains. There is something that drive him to the mountains, right? And as he grew older, he tries to climb the mountains. He tried to do rock climbing and all, but he fails. He fails several times. Still, he keeps on doing it. Ultimately, he succeeds in climbing the mountains. Ultimately, he succeeds in climbing the summit of that mountain, right? He keeps on doing it. It is his endurance. He is suffering so many problems, or he is suffering many difficulties while he was trying to climb, right? In spite of all the difficulties or the obstacles or the hindrances that come across us in our way to success, we have to overcome those difficulties. We have to conquer those difficulties and ultimately gain success. That is not an easiest task. That is what our author wants to tell us. Now, he says that the mountains, it is very beautiful to see, right? It is one of the best creations of nature, one of the best creations of God. It has a majestic look, that royal look, right? It poses great challenges. It is such difficulties or such challenges posed by the mountains that attracts a sporty person, that attracts adventurous persons to climb the mountains. So he says that climbing the mountains, or mountains, are a means of communion with God. Communion means sharing your intimate feeling or experiences in a spiritual way. We go to temple, we go to mosque, we go to church. So these holy places are a means of communion with God, right? When we go to temple, mosque or church, we can share our intimate feelings or experiences with God, right? So similarly, he says that mountains are also a means of communion with God. So children, let's stop our today's session with this paragraph. We'll continue the rest of its experiences in the next session. We will continue the rest of the paragraphs in the next session. So I have attached two YouTube URL links. So you have to go through, you have to watch those links. In one of the links, you can see his real life experience. He narrates his real life account. He says how a avalanche, a mass of snow covered his oxygen cylinders, and how they dig for 2 hours to recover those oxygen cylinders. Such real life incidents are narrated in one of the YouTube URL links. So I hope you will watch those YouTube URLs and also take down the notes. So children, that's all for today. Let's wind up the session. See you in the next class.